They say houses have memories. But what if yours was keeping a diary? Not of the people who lived there, but of the ones who disappeared. I moved in for the silence, the perfect place to write. But the house had other plans. Every night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., the same thing happened. The same ritual, the same visitor. And by the time I realized I wasn't the first, I was already part of the experiment. The realtor had said, historic charm meant needs work. She failed to mention how the master bedroom would smell like antiseptic no matter how much I scrubbed. As a freelance writer working on my first true crime book, I've been drawn to the house precisely because of its silence. No noisy neighbors, no street sounds, just a perfect quiet to finally meet my deadlines. Or so I thought, until I realized the house was quiet back. It wasn't the expected sounds of an old Victorian that unsettled me. The groaning floorboards? Normal. The drafty windows? Typical. Even the way the hallway seemed to breathe when you walked down it at night could be explained by uneven foundations. It was the other silences, the way the antique clock in the foyer, which kept perfect time during the day, would stop dead at 3:07 a.m. every night, the second hand twitching like a dying insect before stilling. The medicine cabinet I found fully stocked with unexpired sedatives, diazepam, pentothal, vials labeled solution, despite the house being empty for months. The rectangular patch of wallpaper behind my bed that refused to stay glued down, its edges curling like dead skin, revealing what looked like old blood spatter in the shape of a handprint, too large to be mine. Ghost roommates. My friend Mark joked during our housewarming call, just don't let them beta read your book. We laughed, but that night, I slept with all the lights on. The first nightmare came before the sleep paralysis. I dreamed of a man in a surgeon's mask standing over me, his gloved fingers pressing into my windpipe. When I woke, my neck was ringed with bruises that faded by noon. The sleep paralysis began 3 days later. I'd wake gasping at that exact hour. 3:07 a.m., body locked in place, tongue thick with the taste of copper and ether. Doctors called it stress-induced. Too much caffeine, not enough sunlight, said one. Classic writer's sleep disorder, said another. They prescribed pills I never took. I might have believed them, if not for three things. The puncture marks on my neck that appeared every Tuesday morning, twin pinpricks spaced precisely 5 inches apart, like in 4-line had been inserted. The way my research notes would rearrange themselves in a list of names and dates when I wasn't looking. The night I finally saw him standing over my bed, his face blurred like a photograph smeared with Vaseline. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This story doesn't start with the horror. It starts with the box. On moving day, while storing luggage in the attic, I found a water-stained cardboard box labeled Subject Files 109 to 112. Inside were decades-old medical bills made out to an E. Vickery, all for alarming quantities of sodium pentothal and something called neural preservative. The dates corresponded with previous owners' move-out dates, each exactly 107 days after occupancy. Beneath the files, a single Polaroid showed a man strapped to a chair, his mouth stretched in a silent scream. The back read, Subject 110, failed August 29th, 2018. I should have left then, but the writer in me needed to know the ending. The smell of antiseptic was stronger that night. I noticed at the moment I entered the bedroom, that sharp clinical odor that clung to the air no matter how many windows I opened. 3 weeks in the house, and I'd begun cataloging these small disturbances like a detective building a case. The bedroom door that never stayed closed, no matter how firmly I latched it. The medicine cabinet that replenished its stock of antiseptic wipes, always arranged in the same perfect row. The way my digital clock blinked 3:07 a.m. every night before resetting, as if the house itself was counting down. That Tuesday began ordinarily enough. I spent the afternoon at the Grind, the local coffee shop where I did most of my writing. Sleep paralysis demons are trending. The barista mentioned as she handed me my latte, nodding to my bloodshot eyes. TikTok says they're just stress hallucinations. I laughed it off. That night, I fell into bed exhausted, my neck stiff from hunching over my laptop. Or so I told myself. The stiffness wasn't from typing. It was from the needle marks I'd found that morning, hidden just below my hairline. The paralysis hit at 3:07 a.m. exactly. One moment I was dreaming of faceless doctors and old-fashioned surgical gowns. The next I was staring at the water-stained pattern on my ceiling, my body frozen solid. My tongue felt swollen and metallic, like I'd been given dental anesthesia. The articles I'd read rushed back. *** sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, exploding head syndrome. *** all the rational explanations I'd researched after the first incident. Then, the floorboard creaked, not the house settling. This was the deliberate, patient sound of weight shifting. Slowly, carefully, from the blackness of the corner, a shadow detached itself. Tall, thin, moving with the smooth precision of a surgeon approaching an operating table. This isn't real, I chanted in my head as it loomed over me. Stress, sleep deprivation. The barista said, cold fingers brushed my cheek. The touch was clinical, almost affectionate, trailing down to my jaw. I wanted to scream, to vomit, to do anything but lie there as those fingers. Asked too long, too smooth. Asked to explore my face like a blind man memorizing features. Then it spoke, not with sound, but inside my skull. The words forming like ink spreading in water. You're already dreaming. When the spell broke, I launched upright so fast I nearly cracked my skull on the headboard. The room was empty. The door was closed. The lock, I froze. The deadbolt was engaged from the inside. Dawn found me, still clutching a baseball bat, every light blazing, my neck aching as if I'd been intubated. The rationalizations came easier in daylight. The lock? Faulty mechanism. The smell? Old house pipes. The glove mark on my cheek? Probably just pillow creases. But as I changed the pillowcase, my hands trembled at the chemical odor clinging to the fabric. Not antiseptic, but something older. Embalming fluid. And when I Googled sleep paralysis plus metallic taste, the first result was a medical forum post that made my blood freeze. Reported by 78% of anesthetic awareness victims. The second result was worse. A Reddit thread titled, "Sleep paralysis? Or something else?" Inside, a single comment from a deleted account. "Check your neck for needles." He likes to practice. The cameras arrived on a Thursday, and with them, the first tangible proof I wasn't insane. I'd spent 4 sleepless nights on the couch before breaking down and ordering surveillance equipment. The salesman at Best Buy had chuckled when I requested the most paranormal proof cameras you have, assuming I was some ghost hunter weirdo. He didn't see how my hand shook as I swiped my credit card. The setup was more complex than I'd anticipated. The Nest Cam mounted above my bed required precise angling to capture the entire room. The Arlo unit hidden in the bookshelf needed its motion sensitivity adjusted to detect even the slightest movement. As I configured the apps, I noticed something odd. Both defaulted to recording in 9 GB file chunks, regardless of duration. That can't be right, I muttered, checking the specs again. At 11:47 p.m., my bedroom became a crime scene waiting to happen. I'd placed a water glass against the door, set up motion-activated lights, positioned my phone to live stream to Mark's Cloud, a failed experiment. The feed cut out at 2:59 a.m. every test run. The first night yielded nothing, as did the second. By the third evening, I'd nearly convinced myself it had all been sleep paralysis when the notification chimed at 3:02 a.m. The footage opened on me, sleeping peacefully. Then at 3:07 and 14 seconds a.m. exactly, the door swung inward. Not around the glass, but through it, the tumbler vibrating slightly as the wood passed through its mass like a ghost. He entered with the same terrible grace I remembered, his dark suit swallowing the infrared light. The camera's thermal mode showed something impossible. His body matched room temperature exactly, while my sleeping form glowed warm beneath the blankets. For 17 minutes, he simply watched. Then the syringe appeared, its needle catching the starlight from the window as he administered whatever kept me still. That's when I noticed the mirror. In a reflection above my dresser, visible for a single frame between 3 hours, 24 minutes, and 2 seconds and 3:24 and 3 seconds a.m. His face should have been visible. Instead, the glass showed only empty space where his head should be. The video ended abruptly at 4:38 a.m. with that awful direct look into the lens, his blurred features somehow conveying amusement. When I rushed to check the raw files, I found 37 identical 9 GB clips, each labeled with dates going back to my first night in the house. "Mark, you have to see this," I whispered into my phone at dawn, attaching the clearest footage. The file corrupted during upload, leaving only a 30-second clip of static. When we tried screen sharing via Zoom, his feed froze precisely as the entity turned toward the camera. "Okay, that's not normal," Mark admitted, uncharacteristically serious. "Have you checked?" I was already ahead of him, fingers flying across my laptop. The needle mark on my neck stung under my probing fingers, and when I searched for current anesthetic exposure, the medical journals described my exact symptoms: metallic taste, neck stiffness, temporary paralysis. But it was the police report search that stopped my heart. 7 previous owners, 32 documented sleep disturbances, 4 unexplained deaths, all ruled natural causes, all occurring between 3 o'clock and 5 a.m. And one recurring name in the witness statements: Dr. Elias Vickery, listed as attending physician on every single coroner's report. The same Dr. Vickery whose embalming fluid receipts I'd found in the attic. The coffee in my mug had long gone cold, its surface congealed into an oily black mirror reflecting my hollow-eyed stare. 37 video files glowed on my laptop screen, each a silent testament to violations I couldn't remember. My finger hovered over the trackpad, trembling as the memory of last night's footage played behind my eyes. The glint of a needle, those spider-like fingers in my hair, the way it had looked directly into the camera and smiled. I should have called the police, should have packed my bags, should have done anything but what I actually did: pour another cup of coffee and click on the oldest file, because I needed to understand. And the house wanted me to. The first night it happened was my 3rd in the house. There I lay, exhausted from unpacking boxes marked D. Vickery Medical that I'd found in the attic. On screen, the door opened without disturbing the glass I'd placed against it. The figure entered sideways, as if slipping between molecules. It moved differently that first night, hesitant, almost curious. When it administered the syringe, its hands shook slightly. But the ritual was already established. Inject at 2:51 a.m., precisely adjust left side of blanket at 3:17 a.m., brush hair from forehead at 3:44 a.m., straighten pillow at 4:22 a.m., as if it had done this hundreds of times before. June 28th, 3:03 a.m., the night it noticed the camera. One moment it was standing by the bed. The next its head snapped toward the lens with unnatural speed. The feed distorted into static, and when it cleared, the figure was closer, its blurred face pressed against the invisible barrier between our worlds. The timestamp jumped from 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 17 seconds to 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 25 seconds. 8 seconds stolen from reality. The first offering, a human molar, appeared on my nightstand, placed there with ceremonial care. When I checked the next morning, it was gone, but the indent remained in the wood, as if pressed there for years. July 11th, 3:29 a.m. the night it spoke. Though the audio remained stubbornly silent, I lip-read the same 3 words repeated in a loop. "Almost ready now." By noon, I stood in the county records office, watching the clerk's fingers freeze over their keyboard when I gave my address. "You're the 4th this month asking about that house," they muttered, eyes darting to a sticky note with 3:07 a.m. scrawled on it. The printer spat out documents without being commanded, including a 1987 embalming fluid receipt made out to Dr. Vickery, with my current address listed as delivery location. The blueprints told the real story. Beneath layers of renovations, the original plan showed a surgical suite where my bedroom now stood, a sub-basement accessible only through the pantry, strange symbols etched into the foundation walls, but it was the Zillow photos that made my blood freeze. Every previous owner had arranged their furniture identically. The same bed placement, the same nightstand angle. As if compelled, the last listing showed a child's drawing taped to the bedroom wall, depicting a tall man with no face standing beside a sleeping girl. The date on the drawing? June 13th, 2022, 1 year to the day before I moved in. Back home, I spread the evidence across my kitchen table. The puncture map, 38 injection sites on my neck, formed a constellation matching the foundation symbols. The timeline, every previous owner left within 3 months, 7 days of moving in. The progression, The entity's behavior mirrored anesthetic stages: induction, maintenance, emergence. But one question burned louder than all others. Why had no one stayed past 107 days? The answer came at 3:07 a.m. that night, whispered through the heating vents. Because the transfer takes 108, and tomorrow would be my 107th day. The pantry door hadn't just stuck, it resisted. 3 nights had passed since discovering the 37 videos. 3 nights spent in motels, jumping at shadows. But the house called me back in dreams, whispering in the staticky hum of hotel TVs tuned to dead channels. Now I stood before the pantry, staring at scratch marks radiating from beneath the refrigerator like sunbursts. Too symmetrical to be animal, too deep to be human. My fingers found the loose floorboard on the 7th try, the same number of previous owners. The wood came up with a scream of protesting nails, revealing a rusted lockbox with a combination dial that left flakes of oxidized blood on my fingertips. The numbers came to me in a whisper: 307. The lock clicked open. The smell hit first, formaldehyde undercut with something sweetly rotten, like fruit left too long in a coffin. My phone flashlight illuminated narrow stone steps that shouldn't exist in a 1912 foundation. The walls wept condensation, the moisture forming vein-like patterns that pulsed in my peripheral vision. Halfway down, I found the first victim. A Polaroid taped to the wall showed a man strapped to a medical chair, his eyelids sutured open. Injection marks dotted his neck in the same constellation pattern as mine. Scrawled beneath in shaky script: Subject 109. Rejected. April 17th, 2015. Cause: neuroresistance during stage 3 sedation. The dates marched downward with each step. Subject 110. Failed August 29th, 2018. Polaroid shows jaw unhinged like a snake's, tongue blackened. Subject 111. Terminated January 3rd, 2020. Eyes milk white. Fingers fused into bony claws. Subject 112. Redacted. June 13th, 2022. Just a child's shoe in the frame, splattered with something dark. I vomited onto the steps. The bile sizzled where it touched the stone. Vickery's workspace was a time capsule of horrors. 1920s bone saws laid beside a modern 4-pump glass vials of murky fluids labeled in Latin and barcodes. A wireless EEG headset coiled atop a stack of leather-bound ledgers. The centerpiece was the chair, part dental, part executioner's, all cracked leather straps and silver buckles that gleamed despite decades of disuse. The ledger lay open to my page. Most entries were in faded fountain pen, but the last 20 pages screamed in fresh blue gel ink. Subject 114, F32, shows 97% neural compatibility, highest since Subject 001. Nightly infusions proceeding as scheduled. Transfer set for 108th night. My hand shook as I flipped to today's date. Final preparations complete. The house remembers. The house prepares. Tonight I live again. Beneath it, a diagram of my skull with arrows pointing to injection sites, and a single addendum: extraction point. Left maxillary molar, see offer number 3. The wall of failures nearly broke me. Row after row of amber specimen bottles, each labeled with a name and date. The liquids inside range from cloudy to clear, some with dark sediment swirling like living ink. The closest read: E. Vickery, neural extract, June 7th, 1987, but the modern edition stole my breath. An iPhone 14 charging next to the embalming station, a 2023 copy of Journal of Consciousness Studies bookmarked at whole brain emulation techniques, my own toothbrush and a sterilizer, and Subject 113's vial. Empty, its label stamped failed in red ink that looked disturbingly fresh. The door slammed shut with the finality of a coffin lid. Air thickened to syrup in my lungs as the whispers began. Not from one direction, but from the walls themselves, vibrating through my molars. You kept us waiting. Dr. Vickery stepped from the shadow of the medical chair, his once blurred features now hideously clear. Waxy skin stretched too tight over sharp bones, eyes black and depthless as the space between stars. A modern suit cut from fabric that rustled like dried human skin in his hand. The antique syringe glowed with bioluminescent fluid. "Don't fret," he crooned. advancing as I backed into the chair. "You're perfect." The other screamed too soon. The child lasted longest, but even she, his free hand, gestured to smaller restraints beside the adult-sized ones. The flashlight revealed teeth marks in the leather. The syringe glowed like a lightning bug in a jar as DR. Vickery advanced, his polished shoes clicking against the concrete in perfect 3/4 time. A waltz for the damned. I'd backed into the medical chair before realizing it, the cold leather straps brushing against my wrists like eager fingers. The others fought. Vickery murmured, loading a fresh vial of that bioluminescent fluid, now recognizable as the same substance swirling in the attic's specimen jars. "But you've always participated." He wasn't wrong. My fingers closed around subject 113's empty vial as he turned to adjust the force stand. The glass felt alive, vibrating faintly as if the failed essence inside still struggled. I let my body go limp exactly as I'd learned from 38 nights of footage. Head lolling, breath slowing to the shallow rhythm of drugged sleep. When Vickery leaned in to check my pupils, his breath smelling of formaldehyde and wintergreen, I struck. The vial shattered across his face, spraying glass and residual essence. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then his skin began bubbling like wax on a hot stove, the smell of rancid honey filling the room as he staggered back. "Clever girl," he rasped, but his voice had changed, layered now with the high, panicked tones of subject 113. "But the rules are the rules." I kicked free as the second chime sounded, scrambling over his liquefying form. The basement walls pulsed like a throat swallowing as I leapt the salt line. Behind me, Vickery screamed in a chorus of voices, his own layer with subjects 109 through 113. The pantry door slammed shut as the fourth chime faded. Through the wood, I heard wet, tearing sounds and a child's giggle that couldn't possibly be coming from Vickery's ruined mouth. My phone read 4:34 a.m. The house exhaled. They say trauma rewires the brain. 3 months later, I still sleep with all the lights on. The scars on my neck form perfect constellations. And every night at 3:07 a.m., my left eye twitches, the one Vickery serum dripped into during struggle. The new family moved in today. From my car down a block, I watched them unload pink bedroom furniture and a child's bicycle with training wheels. The father laughed as he carried his daughter over the threshold, her blonde curls bouncing. As they disappeared inside, the girl's head snapped toward the pantry door with uncanny precision. Her tiny hand waved at me through the kitchen window. Then every clock in the house struck 3:07 a.m. Still watching? That's good, because now I have to ask, when you go to sleep tonight, will you check your door, your clock, your neck, or will you just hope it was all a story? Leave a comment if you've ever woken up at 3:07 a.m. for no reason. And if you haven't yet, well, give it time, like and subscribe before something else does it for you. Sweet dreams.